Hello there. So in this video I want to show you how to do a pretty simple rig in the latest version of Maya. So before we even start to rig, what we want to do is we want to make sure that our scene is set up properly. So make sure that you don't have, so make sure you open the outliner. So to view the outliner, just click here to open it. Make sure that you don't have anything here, any history, just anything. All you want to do is have your character, and that should be it. Make sure you go to delete all by type history so that you don't have anything there. Make sure that your character has to be sitting on top of the grid. So it has to be on top of the grid. It shouldn't be like in the middle like this. It should always be on top. And to do that, let's see, click here. Make sure that not sitting on top of the origin of the grid. So there we go. So now that we have our character here, our model, if you want to have this specific model, I recommend you view my other video tutorials on how to model it and texture it so that you're ready specifically for this tutorial. But you can use any model, obviously. So first things first, we want to make sure that our model is in a separate layer. So select it and go here. And let's name this model. Save it. Now select my character, right click and add selected. And now as you can see, I can change the settings for it so that right now if I have it on R, which means I can't really select the model, which is kind of what I want. I don't want to be clicking on the model by mistake. So first things first, when you're rigging, you want to create joints. Let's go ahead and start with the legs. So what I'll do is I'm going to press spacebar and go to my side view here. Make sure you're in wireframe mode and go to switch your workspace to rigging and go to skeleton, create joint, and let's create one maybe up here all the way to the knee, up to the ankle bone here, the toes, and the toe tip. I'm going to press enter, and there we have it. By the way, if your joints are looking a lot smaller than mine, which they probably are, go to display animation joint size. You can change the size of these guys. Set mine to like 5 maybe. Close that. Now go to front view, and what we want to do is we want to move these guys just a little bit so that they work better with our geo. This is one of the reasons why when you model a character, you want to make sure that you're making it really straight. So the legs should, in this case, they should probably have been straighter than this, having a little bit of an angle. But I think in this case it should be fine. I mean, we could do just a tiny bit of rotation like this, just to get it to you know, fit the shape of the model a little bit better. So there we go. Now what we want to do is we want to name our joints. You always want to name joints when you're doing rigging. So let's start with the top. We're going to name it L for left, and let's go this leg, T for leg top, then underscore J because this is a joint. Select the knee, and I'll just copy paste the name, and I'll call this knee underscore J. Now make sure we have that selected. So L underscore, let's call this foot joint. And this one toe, and finally This is our toe tip underscore J. So there we have it. So now we have our joints named correctly. Oh, by the way, if you're not seeing your joints through your character, make sure that under shading you're seeing X-ray joints. So now you can see them. So cool, so now we have our joints set up and named correctly. So what I want to do is I want to add another joint in the middle here. Let's go to skeleton, create joint, and just click here, press enter. What I'll do is I'll on the x-axis I'm going to set this to 0 so it is exactly in the middle, and I'll probably, no, that's a good location. And what I want to do with this one, I want to name this my hip. So hip underscore J for joint, and I'm going to select the top, the leg top, and then hold down shift, click on the hip and press P. So as you can see now these guys are connected. And now what I want to do is I want to get the same joints but on the other side. So to do that, just click on this one, on the top one, and then go to skeleton, mirror joints, click on the options box, set this to mirror across YX, function behavior, and then for the names what we want to do is we want to search for L, just the what we named our joints for the left side, and then replace that with R, and then Maya is going to replace the names. So apply, and as you can see now we have them on the other side. And if you look at the naming, now this one's called R. Oops, actually for the naming it kind of messed it up because, well, on this one at least, because I was looking for L and replaced it with R, so it replaced the name of the leg there. So I should probably fix that. Let's look at the other ones to see that they're looking good. Okay, I just want to replace the name for this one. For the leg, there we go. So cool, so now we have the bottom half of our character. So let's move on to the rest. So next we're going to create the arms. Let's go ahead and go to skeleton, create joints, and let's start at the elbow. So maybe around here and go to the actually start at the shoulder, then go to the elbow, at the wrist here. Let's go to the top view to see what this is looking like, and let's possibly start one of the fingers since we're here. One there, and there, press enter, and okay, this one's looking good. We want to move this guy just a little bit more here. Then for these guys we don't have to really get these guys in there. We want to, since our character has his fingers kind of like bent like this, it's going to be just a little bit more difficult to set up. So this should be where the knuckles go. So maybe like right there. These ones are first bent. This guy. So there we go on that one. Again, this is going to be kind of difficult to do because our fingers are bent like this. One thing I can do is press Ctrl D from the top of these guys and then just move these guys into place. There we go. Let's do this guy. Control D, just duplicate it to the side. Let's do the next one. And finally, let's do the thumb here. And for this one, I don't need this guy, so I'm going to delete it. So I think that's looking good. So now we have to go ahead and name these guys. So we're gonna have to do the same as we did with the other side. So L, this is our shoulder. This is our elbow. This was our thumb 01J. And then I'll copy the name for the second one. Then just call this one 02. And the tip, let's just call it 03. Then let's name this guy. Index 01J, and then just successively name the other pieces. Okay, so now we have all our joints named appropriately and placed where they belong. And if you see that they're not placed correctly, you can always, kind of move these guys around. So now let's go ahead and create the clavicle for this guy. So let's go to front view, go to joints, create. Let's place it around here. Press enter. Let's go to the side view. just move it a little bit forward. That's kind of where the clavicle should go. Yeah, that's good. So select these guys and shift, press P to parent it, and let's call this our left clavicle. So now what we'll do, we're going to create the spine for this guy. So let's go to, click on this guy so you have it selected, then go to our side view, and let's go to skeleton, create joints, and let's see, let's start here. Let's do the neck and end it at the head. Press enter. So something like this. Yeah, I think that should work. And what I'll do is I'll click on this guy and that, press P to, oops, it's actually the other way around. Let's click this guy and then that, press P. There we go. So that's our spine here. So let's call it that. Let's start calling it spine. This is our neck. And actually for these guys, just noticed I made a mistake. But these guys don't need to have the left naming because there's only one. So let's delete the L. Actually, let's name this one head. Okay, so now we have these guys named. So we do want to connect this guy to this guy. Let's press a P. Actually, oops, it's this guy and then that, and then press P. So that those guys are connected. So as we can see now, this is what it should look like. So now that we have everything named correctly, one thing we want to do is we want to mirror the arms. So let's do that. We're going to do it the same way as we did with the legs. So let's go to skeleton, mirror joints options box, and then replace the L with R, and then same settings as before. Oh, oops. Select it from here, from the clavicle, and there we go. And then just double check that the names are correct. And just look at the our outliner, just make sure that everything is connected and named appropriately. And it seems like it is. So yeah, so that's basically how we do the just the joints. But before we continue, something else we want to do is we want to make sure that the orientations for our joints are correctly. And first let me expand all these guys. And what I'll do is I'm going to select all of these guys and then go to display, transform, display, local rotation axis, and this is going to show me the rotations for the local axis. And as you can see here, so what we want to do is we want to make sure that the y-axis points up on the local orientation and the x-axis points towards the whatever joint's next to it. So like this one looks kind of good, so this one's pointing, the x is pointing down towards the next joint, and then the y-axis is pointing up. And as you can see, we have some here that are not really following that. For example, the ones that we mirror are going the opposite way. So to make sure that we have our orientations correctly, by the way, the orientations matter a lot, because if you have them messed up, once we connect controls to our joints, everything's just gonna kind of break. So you want to make sure you have your orientations working correctly. So for example, this one's completely wrong, where it has the X going up. Actually no, that one's fine. But anyway, let's go ahead and fix that. To do that, we can either do it manually or use a script. So let's go ahead and use the script first. So what I want you to do is go and download the Comet joint orient script in the description below. Once you have that downloaded, open up the instructions on how to install that, and then load it in the script editor. If you go to File, Open Script, and you can load that file, it's going to show up here where it says Comet Orient Joint. And then what you want to do is you're going to type this, so Comet Joint Orient, parentheses, then colon here, so exactly like this, and right click on it and click on execute. And that's going to show the it's going to open up this window, which is the actual script. So just follow the instructions. It comes with instructions on how to install it, so you shouldn't be lost there. And if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below. So with that said, now that we have this open, what we want to do is we want to select all our joints. So select them all again. Then we want to set our aim axis to X and up axis to Y. I'm going to set the world to 1 on the Y axis. And then let's just do the orient joints. And as you can see now, the script just kind of did all of that for us. So we just fixed it. You also want to double check that they're good. So as you can see now, the y-axis is pointing up and the x is following the next joint. So if I'm looking at the fingers, for example, they look pretty good. The thumb may be just a little bit, we're gonna have to fix that one manually just a little bit. Wrist looks good, elbow looks fine, this looks fine, that's good. Let's look at the other side. Okay, so that looks good. I do want to fix this one because this one should be pointing up. Right now it's pointing to the side, as you can see. So to fix that guy, I'm going to do it manually. So let's do it manually this time. Let's close that. Go to Skeleton Orient Joint Options box. And here I'm going to deselect Orient Children, because if I do have that enabled, it's going to change everything again. I'm just going to change this guy. Then click apply, and that kind of fixes it. So for this guy, what I'll do is I'm going to set it to these settings, because I want to make sure that the y-axis points that way and the x down. Let's do the same with this guy. Y-axis points forward, x down. Let's look at this guy here. Same thing, use the same settings. This looks fine. Okay, so those guys are good. And for the top guys, I want to make sure that the axis is set to the y facing forward, x up. So I have my settings set up this way. So primary x, y, y, and y is negative. Then let's do the same for this one, just to rotate the y. Let's see. And for this one, what I'll have to do is close, and I'll have to rotate it manually. So to do that, go to. So to do that, what I'll have to do is just rotate this guy. And let's do -180. So now we have the y facing correctly. I still have to fix this guy at the bottom. So, oops. Let's go to skeleton orient joint, and I think I'll set this guy to orient to whirl just to fix it. And okay, I think that should work. So that's pretty much all we need to know for the main skeleton of the rig, and then we're going to move on to creating the controls for our character.